Good evening, and welcome to this Hump Day edition of the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great day. I know I'm excited. We are in the midst, we are halfway through, as a matter of fact, of our series entitled Boss Moves. And the past two nights have been not only educational, but they've been very inspiring. And I expect that tonight will be much of the same. To all of you who will be catching this broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for being a fan, a follower, and a supporter of the Angela Ray Show. For my live viewers, you know what to do. Whenever you get on the broadcast, go ahead and slide in those comments. Let me know where you are watching from on tonight. Again, on Monday, we started off with our Boss Move series with Miss Rita Pardo. Rita is the owner of Pardo Originals, based out of the Atlanta area. And not only did she have a very encouraging story in terms of what she's been able to do with her business, but also an inspiring story based on all of the obstacles and challenges she's had to overcome in order to sustain her business. And then last night, we were with the Lash Diva, Dr. Anika Goodwin of Opulence MD Beauty. And we got some stuff coming down the pipeline with both of those young ladies. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned. And tonight, we're going to turn it up another notch with Miss Donna King. So again, once you get on the broadcast, let me know where you are watching from. Do want to let you know that tonight, the Angela Ray Show is sponsored by Sheer Styles Beauty Store, where they have all of your essential needs, your beauty products, also those essential items like masks and hand sanitizers, disposable gloves, and more. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a little bit of show and tell. For those of you who haven't got those masks, yes, this is the N95 mask. That's the one that is really, really effective. So that is one of the items that you can get on Sheer Styles Beauty Supply. We're going to get it started, as we always do, with our Ray of Motivation moment. We got somebody watching from home. I know that's right. Don't nobody need to know where your home is, Edwin. Tracy, thank you so much for being on the broadcast tonight. I appreciate you checking in. So, for our Ray of Motivation moment tonight, I just want to ask you to go ahead and open up your cookies. Go ahead and open up your cookies. When I was an avid cookie eater, right now, with the pandemic and the quarantine, I don't need the extra calories. But when I was an avid cookie eater, it was either Chips Ahoy or Oreos. Those were my two favorite until one day when I stumbled on this hotel called the Doubletree Hotel, and lo and behold, in my room on my pillow was this monstrosity of a cookie. And it wasn't until I peeled that napkin back where it was laying on my pillow that I saw everything that there was to that cookie. For those of you who have never had a Doubletree cookie, I feel sorry for you. One day when it's safe, you might want to make your way on over to the Doubletree Hotel, and you can actually order them. You don't have to stay at the hotel to get those cookies. But it wasn't until, again, I had peeled the napkin back on that cookie that I could see all of the goodness. And I don't know everything that's in that cookie, chocolate chips and nuts. And, because it was so good, one day I actually looked at the caloric intake and I realized it's not a cookie that I need to indulge in very often. But when you open up the cookies, you can see what is actually there. Well, how does that relate to our Ray of Motivation moment for tonight? I think that there are many of you who are hiding behind the covering of a napkin, the covering of not sharing your gifts, the covering of not stepping into your own. And nobody knows that you are a chocolate chip singer waiting to share your gift, or you are an oatmeal and raisin poet laureate, ready and willing, but more importantly, needing to share your words with the world. I encourage you, no matter what that gift is, make sure that you are sharing it so we can see what kind of cookies you have. And that is our Ray of motivation moments for this hump day edition of the Angela Ray Show. Well, I am really excited to welcome my guest for tonight. She is the Chief Visionary Officer and the head designer of Sherrod and Company, based out of Atlanta, Georgia, where it was established in 2009. And her handbags, clutches, and purses have been featured in so many different places. They're available in retail stores, and most recently, we've had an opportunity to see them on one of my favorite soap operas, The Young and the Restless. So please help me welcome Donna King. Donna, thank you so much for being on the Angela Ray Show tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I am just curious, what were you doing before 2009 when you decided to make a shift and really focus on this new beginning of this entrepreneurial effort designing bags?
Yeah, so I have a background in mass comm. That's my
Hmm.
undergraduate degree. And I worked for CNN for many years. And then I transitioned to the IT digital portion of um, media. And I started working for IBM. So I'd been with IBM for about 15 years when I decided to just kind of splurge and do something a little different for myself because originally P. Sherrod was not a company that I intended on growing and doing full time. It was just an opportunity for me to do something a little more creative. It was a hobby. And it just so happened that God had different plans because it grew into something much more and greater than I could have ever imagined. So
Now
I
you're
started working
oh,
in.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So your bags are available in Belk, select Belk stores, as well as Macy's. How did you make that leap from, beginning to design some bags, maybe offering them to your circle, to them being available in retail stores?
Exactly what you said. I initially it was available to friends and family. It was available to some local boutiques that had heard about the brand, and I kind of shopped it to them. But it was a very limited distribution at the time, and I entered into a competition with Belk. Actually, they had a designer showcase competition. And I was one of five of the designers that they had selected to be featured in 14 of the Belk stores in the Southeast. So yeah, that's how the Belk story went. And then shortly after that, I participated in another opportunity with Macy's. And I think once you get the groove behind a big box store, um, it's helpful to go ahead and kind of move forward with the other ones because the rhythm is pretty much the same. But I had an opportunity to work with both of those big box stores, and it was truly a dream and quite amazing.
So I'm just curious, you're working in IT, working for various companies, then you take a visit, you're on vacation, you see this leather and you think about, it would be nice to design some bags. How do you make the leap from seeing leather to designing? Had you already designed something before? What made you decide on bags?
No, I actually had not designed anything before. If you've ever visited South America or any parts of Colombia, you know that they have a really rich leather that is the pops of color are very saturated. And in touring the country and the different cities, it was just something that I don't know. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, so that always kicks in when I'm looking at something that's engaging. But this time it was different, and I really wanted to see what I can do with this small family that I came across. And I'm like, we kicked it off very well. We had a great rapport, and just a combination of things that just started falling into place. Led me to think, what can I do? I thought about clothing because I don't have a background in design. I have a background in marketing and mass comm, and but I'm creative and I'm a go getter, and I do have that entrepreneurial spirit. So with all the stars aligning, um, I took it back to the states and started creating and coming up with some concepts.
Now, I'm just curious for those who may not have ever had an opportunity to see your bags, of course, we have your website and your Instagram scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So please be sure to check that out after the broadcast. However, what's currently your favorite bag? And can you show us some of your designs?
Absolutely, I did pull a few pieces for you. One of our best sellers, she's called the KD Clutch, and she has this awesome feature here. She comes in really great, rich colors. This is our apple green. But the feature that she has is that she has this little hand feature here that allows you to carry your
Oh,
and so that's been a really good seller, but you can also carry it like this. You can carry it under your arm. And then on top of that, it has a detachable strap on the inside. So you can also carry it with a crossbody strap. So she's a really good seller. She's a really classic piece. Then it's for people who want.
now you know I gotta know, like, how much of my makeup in my wallet is that? I just need my ID, my phone, and my lipstick, or can I really,
No,
how we pack
I
the
mean,
purses?
you can actually fit for this to be a clutch. It is a larger size clutch, but you can absolutely fit your, your phone, your keys, your little makeup case, and you can now have some smaller ones that you, you might not be able to fit as much. But the KD clutch is actually one of the clutches that you can fit quite a bit of things in, and actually I do a program called Clutch Woman of the Year every year, and we name a clutch after an amazing woman. And so KD is named after actually Dr. Kimberly Manning, which is her maiden name is Draper, but so KD comes from that name. So she's one of our top sellers. And if you want something a little more jazzy or spicy, we have this sooty clutch here,
Oh,
little snake skin here, this pop of color, and this chartreuse and some touches of black. A little shaped a little differently, but it's like a day to night clutch because you can carry it during the day to work or to some sort of business meeting, but also at nighttime if you want to jazz it up a little bit. And we also do some accessories. I have a couple of passport covers here that come in some great colors. We do wallets, we do key fobs, we do card holders in terms of the accessories. So we have a nice little collection for everyone. Yeah.
now your bags are not only available in retail stores and obviously at pop-up events, but you've had your bags featured on The Young and the Restless. How did that opportunity come about?
Such an amazing opportunity, Angela. I tell you, it would be interesting had I sought out to some of the television shows, but I hadn't. They actually reached out to me. I know for The Young and the Restless, they are often looking for brands that don't have, a lot of signature stamps on them, where it's belongs to a particular brand, but also something that's stylish because, of course, style for all of those. Shows, those soap operas is a key factor. And if you ever notice, a lot of times they really do position the handbags center focus to the camera. So clothing and shoes and handbags and jewelry are all very focal points for a lot of the talk shows. Well, they reached. I'm sorry, the
Soap
soap
opera.
operas. Yeah. And so they actually reached out to me. I received an email through the website and said, we love your bags. We love the colors. We'd like to feature them on this season of The Young and the Restless. And so I sent them a line sheet. They picked out several of the bags. And to date, it's probably been about almost 10 bags that have been featured on The Young and the Restless throughout this past season.
Now, I know sometimes when I'm watching television, uh, for example, perhaps like a talk show or something, or even a game show, and it might say Alex Trebek's wardrobe, courtesy of Bloomingdale's. Do you get that credit at the end of Young and the Restless?
Unfortunately, you do not get that credit at
Okay.
the end of The Young and the Restless. But yeah, I mean, I wish. What one of the great things that I just recently been in contact with the wardrobe stylist at The Young and the Restless, and he was recently nominated for an Emmy award, and so I'm like, oh, I kind of contributed somewhat to to helping him get to that point, marginally because he, used some of my bags, but I feel kind of interconnected with that. But unfortunately, they do not highlight me as the designer and the owner of the handbag company that they featured for that season.
Okay. Well, we have a question from one of our very loyal viewers here at the Angela Ray Show. Edwin has a question for you.
Okay, so let's see. How do you determine the price points for purses and bags? And so, thank you, Edwin, for that question. I do comparative pricing. So one of my competitive advantages, I would say, is to be priced moderately for quality leather handbags. And so, depending on the category that you want to place your brand in, which mine is moderately priced, um, I kind of work from that center point. I know there are a lot of luxury handbags. They use maybe some of the same leather that I use. I use a Colombian leather, but I want my bags to be affordable to women. I want them to have a price point where you're not breaking your pockets or your wallets to purchase a nice quality bag. And so I look at some of the handbag lines that I'm comparable to, and I keep it at a price point that I think is fair and reasonable for my clients.
All right. And we have another question for you. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer. Hey, Ebony, by the way.
Hi, Ebony. Do you get residuals every time it's shown? I wish. Ebony, the benefit that I did get is definitely it was the grad. I was so it was so amazing to see my product on the shows being carried by some of the talent that I have watched for so many years, which is ironic because Young and the Restless was the show that I watched growing up. Hadn't watched it in many years, but the same characters are on the show.
Mm-hmm. And they still the same age, though. That's what's crazy.
So the same characters are on the show. So there is some gratification to that. Unfortunately, no, I do not get any type of residuals. No.
All right. That's just a hey. Hey, Natasha. She's saying hey to both of us. Now, I have a question for you. I'm assuming when you first got started, maybe you had two, maybe three bags, but now you just mentioned you have the passport covers, you have the keychain, you have, different size clutches. How did you start to grow from your initial offerings?
Um, so from design to final to production and final product is about a year for me because we go through the testing and several iterations. And so it does take some time to develop a new product, but I know clients are always asking for different things. Once they meet your brand and they like your brand, they're like, well, do you offer this? Do you offer that? And of course, you have to be readily available and willing and able to produce those requests. The competition is thick in the handbag industry. There are a lot of handbag designers. And so you want to be, right there with your competition. And so, yeah, I go through that cycle at least 2 or 3 times a year. Some of them make it into final production, and some of them don't. But it's always good to have new offerings each season: spring season, fall season, summer season, holiday season, for people to find something fresh and new.
Well, I know that reaching the levels of success that you have and being in business for over a decade now, it's hard to reach that level of success without challenges. What are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome, and how were you able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the hardest times that I have, and many entrepreneurs experience this, especially early on, is that you are a one man or one woman show. And so you're doing the finances, you're doing the distribution, you're doing the marketing, you're doing every aspect of the business. And it can be just a lot. It can be a lot for you for one person to manage. So, just in terms of time management and not spreading yourself too thin, managing work-life balance just in general. So those are some of the challenges that initially I had. Two, I was used to getting a paycheck from IBM, that direct deposit every 2 weeks, and that's not how entrepreneurship works. And so it's adjusting to this new lifestyle of what an entrepreneur has to do, as opposed to that, readily available direct deposit every 2 weeks. And so it was a challenge trying to figure out how to manage that money from a different angle now. Also, just working with my manufacturer can be challenging. I mean, we have a language barrier. We're on opposite sides of the country. And so that can often be a challenge as well, even though we've been working together for many years now. It can be challenging to work with someone when you have that language barrier. And so those, I think, have been challenges for me, but there have been a plethora of challenges, honestly, from financial and everything, in between. But challenges are going to come. It's just a part of being an entrepreneur.
Okay, Edwin, I will tell you, I see your question now, and it looks like we were on the same page because he's pretty much was going to ask you almost the same exact question that I was. So I'll ask this, in terms of moving ahead with the business. You mentioned a little bit earlier about the purse, the Kimberly. I was about to say Grady Doc, because that's what she's known as on
Right.
social media. But you mentioned the clutch that's named for her because she was the Clutch Woman of the Year. Talk a little bit about that, because I think this year you honored Rashawn Ali, correct?
Yes, Rashawn Ali, and every year we put it out to the general public. You're able to nominate a woman that has done phenomenal things at work, home, and in the community, and who's just deserving of being recognized as being that clutch person for her friends, for her family, for her coworkers, for her children and her husband, if that applies for her. And so we've been doing it this is our 6th year doing Clutch Woman of the Year. And we've just had a phenomenal response from it. And I love the fact that as a woman owned business, I'm able to acknowledge and recognize a woman doing great things. She gets a collection of Sherrod handbags. We do a reception for her. She's honored by
Ooh,
the city of Atlanta. And then we name a bag in her honor as well.
wow. It's almost like Queen for a day.
Yeah.
Um, so thinking, you talked about being able to give that through the Clutch Woman of the Year. Obviously, though, you're a business, you're in business, and you're in business to make money and to make a difference. Obviously, purchases are important. It's important for business owners to have their products or their services, um, people to give money for them, not just always ask for the discount. But what are other ways that people can support small businesses like yours, this along with purchasing?
Yeah, I think some of the greatest ways, I think, in terms of the social media following is big. I think if you can't make a purchase, maybe if you know someone who's in the market for something in particular, share that person's information. I think encouraging us to exchange information about partnerships and partnering with other people. I know that that's really huge for me. I have, and I just see Karen Birdie, who's like one of one of my greatest customers, and she's always very supportive. So speaking along the lines of support, that's huge for a small business owner because it is a lot. And when you're competing with some of the bigger brands, I'm still competing. My dollar that I'm competing against is competing against bigger brands as well as smaller brands. So to have the support of community and individuals that can share and talk about the brand is huge. Just to increase awareness and to encourage that entrepreneur to keep moving forward.
Now, here is a great question. I'm curious how you're going to answer this one.
If I were to design a purse for Mrs. Obama, what ideas come to mind? Oh, that is a great question. I think I would, it really would depend. So I would have to delve into what aspect of her lifestyle would I'd like to tap into. She's a stylish woman. She's a businesswoman. She has a conservative side to her. She also has a fun side to her. We are very popular. Our clutches are very popular. I think she would look phenomenal in a nice, sleek clutch with probably some sort of skin or print. But in addition to that, she's a businesswoman. So a nice, classic size tote that she can fit, her day-to-day business, her if she goes back into law, whatever it is that she decides to do. Um, Something from that regard as well. So it really would depend on what lifestyle component would I like to tap into. But I think she would be an amazing client to work for.
Now, when you were talking about support, you mentioned partnerships, just in case there is another business owner or someone who has those strategic relationships for partnerships. Can you be a little bit more specific on the kinds of partnerships you would be interested in at this level of your business?
um, all types, Angela, because here's the thing: you can technically partner with a vast amount of people, because I've partnered with everyone from travel agencies, I've partnered with children's brands, I've partnered with give back brands, I've partnered with Dress for Success, I've partnered with the Atlanta Dream, I've partnered with Coleman. So because there are components of all of these businesses. Could it be the association with a women's organization, or could be just my love and care for children? And like right now, I'm in the process of doing When Girls Dream, which is a event that I do every year for young girls. And so for me, partnership has nothing to do with just specifically aligning brands, although that's always a good thing. But there are so many creative ways to come up with partnerships. And now more than ever, we need opportunities for all of these brands to cross promote and to encourage each other. And so I'm really open to many brands. Traditionally, I've partnered with female designers. I've partnered with the shoe companies, accessory companies
Yeah.
and things like that. But I'm certainly open to any type of partnership at this stage.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely keep my eyes and my ears open. I always think of bags as a great accessories for the red carpet. So that's
Yes,
something that always comes to mind. Now,
absolutely.
thinking about this pandemic that we are in and the fact that there are out of necessity, many people have started creative endeavors and entrepreneurial efforts. What do you think the long term impact will be on small businesses from going through this period of time?
I think now everyone knows that it's important for you to have a virtual online presence. I do a lot of my business with shows. I do trade shows and things like that, but I've also had an online presence, so that was already in existence. But I think there are some business who really just depended on those trade shows or those face-to-face events and things like that, and didn't necessarily focus so much on their brand from an online perspective. But I think everyone has really made that jump and that shift, and everyone is really promoting and building awareness, doing a lot of these types of using these type of platforms, IG Live and Facebook. So everyone is making that big shift, and I think that that's not going away. I think people are going to hold on to this as a platform for them to move forward with engaging customers, engaging partnerships virtually.
Now, if there was one piece of advice you could give someone who wanted to start a business based on what you've learned, what would it be?
I think one of the biggest things is to have a plan. I think a lot of times we jump into some things and we don't have a plan of action. So it's important. It doesn't have to be an extensive 10-page plan, but just a plan of action, a one-page executive summary of what you plan to do. I think also it's important to have a mentor, someone who can help you kind of steer, and if someone that can kind of give you some guidance, because I think a lot of times we can avoid mistakes if we just had someone that we trusted to kind of lend us their ear and kind of give us some guidance. I think the other thing is just kind of go for it, because a lot of times we say, "Oh, I'll do that next year," or "I'll do that next month," or "I'll try it after this happens or that happens." Sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith, and I know that kind of is what happened for me. Just kind of jump right into it and just do it.
Is there a place, a television show? When I say place, like, either a particular store, a particular retail store, a television show or movie or a celebrity? Is there like your dream level of your bags? Where would you like them to to be in terms of continuing to grow and to spread to the masses?
Yeah, I love Tracy Ellis Ross. We have a bag called the Joan C. It's named after her character on Girlfriends, Joan Clayton tote. I think she's so stylish, and she would be one of my ideal clients. But I really just love a woman that loves a good bag. So I say celebrities and things like that, but at the end of the day, the people that purchase my bags are my biggest fans. And that's just the everyday woman. One of our tags is everyday perfect leather handbags, and so for me, that's extremely important. Now, ideally, I would have Mrs. Obama and Tracy Ellis Ross and all the famous people, but yeah, I'm really content with these beautiful women that come every day and purchase my bags and come online and purchase my bags and contact me for purchases. So yes, movies and other television shows and major celebrities are also in my on my wish list.
Now, as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share? Something that we haven't covered yet that, either you feel would be inspiring for people who may be looking to start a business, or even maybe even a fashion tip, because I'm sure that you definitely have an air of fashion about you. Anyone who designs bags the way you do, a little bit about fashion and more than a little bit. So, any tips you'd like to add for us as we begin to close out tonight?
Well, what I'll say is, don't be afraid of color. We One of our main competitive advantages is we have these pops of color, and a lot of times people are afraid of color. They go with classic black. Black is great. Black is beautiful, but a pop of color in a bag can really set off an outfit. So one of my tips would be, don't ever be afraid of a pop of color because it can really do your wardrobe good.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna work on these pops of colors because I just noticed right before I went live, I said, "Hold up, am I blending in with the background tonight?" So just need a little pop of color. That's all I need, just a little pop of color. Well, Donna, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on the Angela Ray Show tonight. For all of my viewers, you can connect with Donna online on her website. You can see the entire array of bags, clutches, and accessories that she has available. Also, please be sure to follow her on Instagram because I imagine you might get the news about new things first if you are on social media. So definitely connect there as well. Again, Donna, thank you so much for hanging
Thank
out with us tonight.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Amazing job with your show, and thank you so much for having me on and inviting me.
Oh, well, that I really feel honored coming from mass comm major because I know that you know. All right. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Good
All
night.
right. Good night. All right, that is it for this edition of the Angela Ray Show. As always, I would like to remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you to go out and be the change. Have a great evening.